Michigan and Ohio State survive upset Saturday, boy, because there were hell of upsets. Hell of upsets. And I was watching that Michigan-Illinois game on the edge of my seat because I have a homeboy of mine who plays cornerback for Illinois. So I was rooting for them to win. I wasn't expecting them to be in this game. I thought that Michigan was going to cover that point spread. However, this game initially looked like Michigan was going to run away with it because Michigan scored a touchdown on their opening possession. I was just like, dog, here we go. But then Illinois' defense, they did a really good job at containing Michigan's offense, especially when Blake Corum got injured. Oh my goodness. You talk about a team that had to will themselves to a win. Michigan had to pull themselves up to win this one. And you look at Ohio State's win against Maryland, even though it was by a bigger margin, they also had to dig deep to win that game also. But Michigan, they had to dig deeper because the passing game, once Blake Corum went down, didn't look good. And even when Blake Corum was on the field, this offense was still struggling. J.J. McCarthy, this wasn't a good performance from him. And I definitely have huge concerns about how this passing game is going to look against Ohio State secondary. Although this was an Ohio State secondary that was getting shredded by Maryland and Talia Tagovailoa and those receivers. But I mean, Illinois secondary is really good. And remind you that they had a couple of guys who weren't even playing who were key pieces of this secondary throughout this season. So the fact that they were able to put Michigan in a situation where they had to rely on the passing game to somewhat win, I think played into the strength of Illinois. And Illinois, honestly, had plenty of opportunities to win this game, but they kind of got a little conservative, a little too safe and too conservative at times. There was a 3rd and long and they called a draw play. I never will understand that. Why are we calling draw plays on 3rd and long? How often have we seen somebody convert a 3rd and long off a draw play? Not that often. Don't understand it. Like, Illinois is just too conservative. There was no way that they possibly thought, yeah, we're going to give Michigan the ball and we're going to allow them to have to beat our defense to win. And they thought that they were going to keep them out of field goal range. Come on. And these games, when you're trying to pull off these upsets, man, you got to go get it. You got to go win. You can't just play it safe. You got to go claim your win, man. You look at Ohio State. I mean, they went and they got the victory. Maryland, same thing that Illinois did. However, they weren't conservative. It's just that Maryland had some bad penalties. I mean, they had an offsides penalty, and when the dude did it, he felt so bad. He was like, and I was looking at it, I was like, yeah. And they took him right on out the game. I was like, I probably would too. Like, Mike Locksley, there's too many games that I watch in Maryland, and I don't watch too many Maryland games, but when I do, it seems like they're just so undisciplined at times. Talented team, they get in their own way. And Maryland's offense, when it's on, it's on. I mean, this receiving core is just as good as any other in the nation. But I'm looking at Ohio State's defense, and I'm just kind of like, man, I mean, how's this defense going to look against Michigan? Well, I mean, we don't even know what's going to happen with Blake Corum. So I look at Ohio State's performance against Maryland, and these are some of my takeaways from what I saw on the defensive side. I think that in the 4th quarter, this defense really started to play their best football where they needed to in the biggest moment. The last drive, number 9, Zach Harrison, I believe that's his name. Bro, that dude was going off. I mean, Maryland could not stop him. And the other dude, 44, He had a fantastic performance against Penn State. But number 9 for Ohio State, Zach Harrison, he was also having a pretty good performance in his own right in the fourth quarter of this game. And really, Ohio State, their defensive line started to take control of this game in the fourth quarter. And they already kind of neutralized the run game for Maryland, which is something that Maryland never seems to be able to do, is run the football. So that didn't really help. So once the defensive line of Ohio State really started teeing off and they were able to put Maryland in situations where in the red zone, you got to throw the football to convert. Like, it's hard to score in the red zone. And it's even harder to score in the red zone when you got to throw the football because everything gets condensed. So you just look at Mike Locksley and you look at Maryland in this game, you know, it just was a game that got away from them. But you never kind of doubted if Ohio State was going to win. The outcome was never really in question. However, when I was watching that Michigan-Illinois game, I genuinely thought that Illinois was going to pull off the upset. I mean, they were going on the run in the third quarter. I mean, Michigan kind of looked like they weren't the better team. And it's funny because I was talking to a friend a couple of days ago about this game. And I was saying that Illinois and Michigan are more similar than what a lot of people think. They both run the ball like hell. They got really good running backs. Chase Brown, Heisman caliber performance in this game. 29 carries, 140 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. Blake Corum also had a phenomenal performance in this game. But what makes this team so similar is that defensively, they got pretty good defensive lines, and their defenses all are pretty rock solid. However, Michigan, I think late in the game, the fact that Illinois couldn't really handle Michigan up front is why they lost this game. Not to mention the big return by, what's his name? He had number 8. I can't think of his name right now. It's escaping me. But he had a big return. It's going to come to me eventually. But he had a big punt return that put Michigan in excellent field position. Then, you know, there was a little bit of a controversial call where there was a Michigan receiver that kind of was a little bit blocking a little bit too far up ahead field. And some people argue that it should have been offensive pass interference. Illinois' head coach went to Twitter. He also retweeted it and kind of called out the officials for it. But, I mean, Illinois had hella opportunities to win this game. But Michigan survived. And, I mean, this team found the way to win. Same thing with Ohio State. And what's funny about Ohio State is that they didn't have a lot of success running the football until midway through the third quarter in this game. And I find it crazy how every time Ohio State seems like they're in the bind, they can lean on the run game to close out games. Even when they're not having a lot of success doing it, they always find ways to get that run game going. Not all the time, but most of the times. And that's how they escape. They get the run game going late. They wear you down. They tire you out. They keep your offense off the field. Your defense gets tired. And then when your offense comes on the field, their defensive line really starts to take control of games. Like Ohio State gets better up front as we progress throughout games. First, second quarter, they heat up. Third quarter, they're hot. Fourth quarter, they're on fire. Go back and watch the Penn State game. Like, this defensive line really takes control of games in the fourth quarter. And I think that this offensive line, even though it is inconsistent, does a really good job in clutch situations. When Ohio State needs to run the football, they can run the football. They have injuries galore at running back. I mean, we don't even be knowing who half these guys are, who they have at running back. At least the casual fan in me, I'd be like, where's Travion Henderson? Oh, he's injured? Damn, okay. Where's the other guy that they just had? Myron something. Oh, he's injured too? What's who's this guy? Well, it doesn't really matter. I mean, they just find ways to have success running the football late in games. So Michigan and Ohio State survived near upsets. I mean, I'm more concerned about Michigan than I am Ohio State, simply for the fact that Blake Corum is the heart and soul of that team. And I mean, J.J. McCarthy, we're really just counting on his potential at this point. We're just waiting to see him put it all together. And it kind of seems like we've been waiting all season for J.J. McCarthy to have that game and to have those moments. And we've seen flashes, but we still haven't really seen that game out of J.J. McCarthy. And against Ohio State coming up, if Blake Corum isn't able to go, J.J. McCarthy, he's going to have to carry this team on his back, and he's going to have to be able to will Michigan to a win. Now, Michigan's defense is going to buy him some stops. I mean, their defense was pretty good in this game up to the most part. I just think that with them having to be on the field for so many plays because the offense was going 3-and-out and not really having a lot of success for most of the afternoon, their defense started to get a little bit tired. But overall, they were able to find a way to pull off the win in the end. And I think that Michigan is really good at finding different ways to win. You know, they can win with special teams. I got to look up who the dude was who made that return, because I know you guys are going. Ronnie Bell, that's his name. Ronnie Bell, that's his name. Ronnie Bell had a huge punt return that put Michigan in really good field position. And I think for Michigan, when you compare them to Ohio State, I think Ohio State is a more talented football team on the offensive side, but defensively, I think that Michigan has a lot more depth on the defensive line, and I like their secondary a little bit more. However, Michigan also has way more different ways to win compared to Ohio State. I mean, like, yeah, we talk about, you know, J.J. McCarthy's performance in this game against Illinois, but at the same time, he has shown the ability to have success throwing the football downfield. It's just that it hasn't been consistent. So I think that Michigan has a lot of different ways to win. However, Ohio State, they're just a powerhouse. It's just so hard to keep them down. So let me know what you guys think about Michigan and Ohio State surviving scares.